So what or who do you worship? It's easy for us to say God, of course, but are you really worshiping anything else? Jesus said, worship God the right way. Good morning and welcome to 755 Live. For about 5 minutes, you'll hear all about easy to remember soundbite versions of what Jesus said. And the point is to help you experience life to the fullest, the Jesus way. Today's Jesus Said comes from a story that is part of what we call the temptation in the wilderness, where Jesus fasted for 40 days and nights, and the adversary appeared to him and tempted him. And so we're going to read Matthew 4:10, which actually I think I have the wrong verse on the there, but Matthew 4:10 is where this Jesus said comes from. Then Jesus said to him, "Go away, Satan, for it is written, you are to worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Now I'd like to read a little context here, so let's back up to verse 8. Again, the devil took Jesus to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their grandeur. And he said to him, "I will give you all these things if you throw yourself to the ground and worship me." Verse 10, then Jesus said to him, "Go away, Satan, for it is written, you are to worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and angels came and began ministering to his needs. This was a battle. There is a war on. We aren't wrestling against flesh and blood, the scripture tells us, but it is a spiritual battle. And there is a war on worship. And Jesus gave us the perfect example of how to fight a spiritual war. Here he is face to face with the adversary. And the adversary is tempting him with his worship. And how did Jesus fight this? It is written. That's how Jesus fought the battle against the enemy. The enemy wanted to tempt Jesus with all of the things of the kingdoms of this world. There was a war about worship. And we're fighting that same battle today because we're not wrestling against humans. We're not wrestling against things in this world that we can see, but we're fighting an unseen battle. And how do we win that battle? The same way that Jesus did. We win the war on worship with "it is written." And Jesus quoted from Deuteronomy, and I want to read that today. So this is the context where Jesus said, "Hey, I'm not going to worship the kings of the world and the kingdoms of this world. I'm going to worship God only." This was from Deuteronomy 6:10 through 15, where it says, "Then when the Lord your God brings you to the land he promised your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you, a land filled with large, fine cities you did not build, houses filled with choice things you did not accumulate, hewn out cisterns you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant and eat your fill." So basically, to kind of unpack that, God is telling his people who had been taken to a land of plenty, he said, when God brings you there, then be careful. Verse 12, "Be careful not to forget the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, that place of slavery. You must revere the Lord your God, serve him only, and take oaths only using his name." That's what Jesus is quoting. Worship God only. It's not just in our words, it's actually in action, serving him. Verse 14 says, "You must not go after other gods, those of the surrounding peoples. For the Lord," and that's Yahweh, "Yahweh your God, the Lord is your God, who is present among you, is a jealous God, and his anger will erupt against you and remove you from the land." This is a very, very important battle with eternal consequences. Who are we worshiping? Well, if we try to do things the way that the world does, the enemy wins. But worship wins when we don't forget who God is. When we remember that we only worship God. How is it written? What did God say in His Word that we should do? How can we serve God, not the things of this world? That's what real worship is. It's not about the right music. It's not about the right environment. It's about our heart. The adversary was tempting Jesus with all of the way the world works. And Jesus said, that's not the way to win the war. Worship God and serve Him only. That's what Jesus said. To worship God, worship wins. Worship God the right way. How can you put that into action today and worship God only? Thank you so much for listening. If this is meaningful to you, it would mean a lot to me. If you like it, if you share it, I really appreciate you. And I hope that you have an amazing day. Thanks for checking in, Pastor Eddie. Good to see you today. I hope this time together has helped you live life to the fullest, the Jesus way. And remember, follow Jesus today. Love first.